it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini. I post weekly crafting, cooking, and organic gardening videos right here on my YouTube channel. In this tutorial, I'm teaching you how to make some turban-inspired headbands. They're also called turbans, and an example is the one that I'm wearing right here. Super easy to make, very inexpensive, and a great way to use up scraps or old t-shirts. Let's go over the supplies we'll need to make one, and we'll jump right into making our turban-inspired headbands. So for this headband, you're going to need some stretch knit fabric scraps. It's great to use up leftover chunks from other projects. You can also cut up things like this, like an old t-shirt. Something that stretches is going to be the fabric that I recommend, but you can really use any fabric, okay? This is the one I'll be using for this project. Then you're also going to need either a pair of scissors or some kind of rotary cutter. Obviously, if you're going to use the cutter, you're going to need the corresponding mat as well. A safety pin here, any size is fine. And then my ruler of choice for a project like this where you need to cut out strips is going to be this long ruler like this. This measures 6.5 inches by a full 24. Now for this fabric, when you're using stretch knits or most things like this cotton jersey, this is a lightweight cotton jersey, it's going to have the most amount of stretch along the width of the fabric. So from selvage to selvage. If I tug this way, you can see it stretches quite a bit. Whereas if I tug on the lengthwise grain, it doesn't stretch as much. It still has a little give, but for a project like this where we want it to stretch around our head, we definitely want to get the width of the fabric going along the length of the strip that we're going to cut, okay? So I make sure that the length of my strip is going along this stretchiest side, and I'm going to fold this again, so I'm working with a smaller amount of fabric on my mat. I'm going to cut off a little bit off this edge just so I can get a nice clean straight edge. I'm lining up a line on my ruler with this fold that I created down here. And I'm going to cut off a little bit. Okay, and now I want to cut my strip 5 inches wide. So you can play around with the width on how narrow or how wide you want the little strips of the headband to be. So it's super cool that you can customize this any way you want. I'm going to put up another ruler here just so I can make sure that's there. And so now, because most of these jersey fabrics or these stretch fabrics come in like a 60-inch width or 58-inch width, just from cutting one strip along the width of the fabric, I'll be able to get both the strip for the headbands that I'll need. So you can see I have a lot here and it's doubled up. So I need it to measure now 20 inches along the length. So you want to get 2 pieces that measure the 5 inches by 20. So here we go, 1 and 2. Now what we're going to do is take each one of these, pretty sides facing up, and I'm going to take one edge and line it up to the other one down here, and match up these raw edges, and I'm going to pin this all the way down, and repeat the same thing for this one. Now once you have both of these strips pinned up, you're going to take it to your sewing machine, and you can use either a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch, okay, because remember we have the stretch going this way. We don't want the stitches to pop when we go to put on the headband. So make sure you're using a stretch stitch or some kind of zigzag stitch along the edge. Just use a 1/4 inch seam allowance is fine, and stitch all the way down from here to the end, and the same thing for the other one. Now we're going to flip these right side out. So I'm going to take my safety pin. I'm going to reach in here, pull up a little bit so that I'm pinching just a little of the fabric just on one side, and I'm going to put my safety pin right through there. Okay, so I still have a hole, okay? Notice I'm just putting the safety pin through one side. Then I'm going to put it so that the heavy side of the safety pin is inside, and then I'm just going to push it all the way till it comes out on the other end, and then just pull the fabric back this way, and the whole thing will flip right side out. So let's repeat that to the other one. Come here, pinch back this fabric a little bit, put my safety pin through there, and push it all the way through. I want you to line up so that the seam that you sewed is right here in the center, okay? So fix your little strips so that that seam is running right down the middle. And then I'm just going to press this in place with my iron. Now to set them up to make that twist that it has in the headband, I want you to lay one horizontally in front of you with the seam right down the center. Then the next one I'm going to put on top of this one perpendicular this way, but notice I'm putting it with the seam side down, like this. Okay, so make a big letter T. Then I'm going to grab these 2 ends, bring them together here, and then I'm going to do the same thing with these 2 and bring them together here. So you can see that's how the front of the headband is going to look, and I'm loving this one. It's going to be super cute on my curly hair. Alright, so now all we need to do is sew this up. So there are a lot of other different ways that you can do it to get a nice clean finish, but for the sake of time and simplicity, especially for my beginners, we're going to keep it super simple. I want you to just put these two together and make sure that when you're putting them together that the seam is going on the inside so that we're not going to see that in the finished product, okay? We don't want to see the seam when you're wearing it. You want it to look like that, smooth all around, okay? So now we're just going to take these 4 ends, so I have 2 here and 2 here. I'm going to bring them together just like this. And as simple as you can imagine, we're just going to stitch right through all 4 of these layers, okay? When you're working with lightweight knits like this, it's going to be super easy. You can do a straight stitch, a zigzag, whatever you want to do. I would just go at least twice over this area to make sure that it doesn't come apart. I'm going to come in about a 1/4 of an inch, or maybe a little bit if you see that your ends are not that even. You can do a little bit more. And I'm just going to do a straight stitch, okay? But I'm just going to re-secure it. I'm going to go back and forth a couple of times just to make sure. Back stitch at the beginnings and at the ends as well. And so I'm going to reverse it all the way back and come forward one more time just in case. And then back stitch just to secure those last stitches. And then what I want you to do here, where all these little funky looking edges are, just trim close to your stitch line. That's all you need to do, okay? It's not really going to matter, especially if you used a stretch fabric like I did here, because stretch knits are not going to fray or unravel on you. So if you cut it real close to the fabric, you see that it's not that bad. It's just a clean cut. And so that's going to be tucked in under your head, and you won't be able to see that. It's going to look smooth like that on the outside of your headband. So you can see what it looks like now. And I actually love that I used this fabric. It's so cute. So that's it. Now you see how easy it was to make these really cute turban-inspired headbands. Actually, I think this is going to be my favorite one because I'm really loving these bright colored polka dots. But I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, make sure you hit it with the thumbs up below, share it across the different social media sites, pin it to a Pinterest board. Go ahead and share the crafty love with anyone you think is interested in learning how to make these really cute headbands. If you do try out the project, remember to take some pictures and upload them to our Facebook page because I always love to see what you're making from the Crafty Gemini tutorials. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.